a problem of perception of, of Africa in the mind of investors. Some of it comes out, of course, of ignorance, because Africa is 54 countries, and these countries also have different characteristics. In the media outside, people usually talk about Africa as just one, one lump sum of something. So if there is a problem in Somalia, or if there is a problem in the Sahel or somewhere, it's a problem in Africa. And that creates a perception that Africa really is like the Wild West or like a dangerous place, and that doesn't help with investors.
Well,
the other problem, I think, also is this perception of corruption. Let's be frank. In a lot of minds in the West here, people think Africa is a very corrupt place. Corruption is a problem, a global problem, but I don't think it is an African problem. Corruption exists everywhere, and actually many African countries are quite good. Some African countries actually are better than some European countries if you look at the index, global index of corruption. I mean, countries like Botswana, etc. But always people pick up on the DRC or the few corrupt places that becomes Africa. So we have this issue of perception, and I think we have a big fight in our hand really to close this gap between reality and perception, because that's what will help investors really to come to invest in Africa. Because this is the last frontier now.
Well, is like actually, is being blown out of proportion. Yes, there is corruption, but corruption does not stop people from doing genuine business. You don't really have to give anybody bribe to do whatever that you are doing. And it has actually shown that, yes, some of us have been very, very successful in all the businesses that we've been doing without getting involved in corrupting anybody. Okay, so what I think the difference between Africa and Asia, yes, the Asian tigers, they were able to grow because they are really focused, and they have more entrepreneurs than Africa, because some of us were always waiting for foreign investors to come. A foreign investor will not really go into where he's not very much aware of. So you need those local investors to be able to lead in expanding the growth or the trajectory of African economies. But, I mean, let me give you an example. For example, today, when you look at it, a lot of people, they try to discourage even the Africans from investing. You will not believe that the entire sub-Saharan Africa, we only have 2 working refineries. So every single thing that you are talking about in terms of petroleum products is being imported. And because any time when somebody wants to build a refinery, say, no, don't even try it, because it is a no-go area. You can't even do it. It's not done. It's not possible. So these are the sort of things that we have. So we must change the narrative and say, okay, fine, how do we really do it ourselves? Okay, the economy of Japan or Korea was not established by the Americans. So we have to do it ourselves.
Bill, you met a lot of African people. We are frank, we're all friends here. And what is honestly your perception of corruption of Africa? Is it a major problem? Does it hinder the work of your foundation or any investments you made there?
Well, corruption is a huge problem. I mean, the 2 most visible countries, because they have the 2 biggest economies, are South Africa and Nigeria. And, parts of the government budget does not go to help the people in the best way possible. And corruption has this terrible effect. Donors are very chicken about corruption. Yeah. If a rich world donor gives, say, $1 billion, if there's a news story about a few 100,000 of it being misused, that will, get the headlines, and that donor is not going to come back again.
Yes.
Likewise, in these countries, the amount being collected from the domestic economy, tax-wise, is very, very low. So Nigeria is the lowest in the world of any established economy. And the bootstrap of saying to the people, hey, we're going to put in a value-added tax, but we're going to have better roads. We're going to put in a value-added tax and the education will improve. Bootstrapping that is very difficult if people are cynical domestically. Forget what anyone outside the country thinks. It just makes it harder. And so, you know, in Nigeria, having, starting at the state level, to have exemplary governors who clearly are minimizing the corruption and showing that the current revenues, the health, the education, roads, although we don't work on that, so I'm not an expert on that piece. I do think that if we can get, you know, a new generation of governors, they don't all have to be young, that are trying to be exemplars, then you can start building that credibility. The area that we work in, healthcare, primary healthcare, it's not subject to gigantic corruption. It's not like an oil deal or a road that, you know, there's a bunch of money and you may spend the money and not get the road. In health, we import the vaccines, so the most expensive input comes in kind. So you can't, and there's no black market for that. And the labor market is not that gigantic. So primary healthcare can work everywhere in Africa, and that's a key piece of building things up. But you know, you publish a very honest set of figures, which you get help from Transparent International and other people. I'm afraid those figures really do tell the story, which is that there is work to be done on corruption, not just in Africa, but including
everywhere,
in Africa.
because there is a thesis also that business, international business also, is a player in the corruption area.
I have to say
and
that
people have to behave both sides.
The U.S. passed a thing called the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. And it, as people said when it was being passed, it has damaged U.S. business. It means that businesses from other countries, I won't name them, can still play by tough rules. Now, Europe later adopted the same sort of things, and even some of the, you know, great companies. Siemens is a great company, but they had some activities that they had to change. So the FCPA, I do think, has been a great thing for the world. If we can bring in all the actors, then we can minimize the degree to which it's this outside influence, which certainly for oil deals and defense contracts, there's been a lot where it's the external actor comes in with the way of doing business.
But Bill, I mean, I am a great admirer of the FCPA, and we always, businessmen, corrupt leaders, to hide their illegitimate gain in this opaque, and so we have been fighting together with a lot of other civil society groups and business groups to change the law, because we say, why do we need to have this class of companies? What function does it do for anybody? And fortunately, it has been a successful campaign. The British Parliament passed a law. They said there must be a public register for ownership of companies. Europeans passed similar law. We're still fighting at the Congress here.
You're right.
To pass this law. And I was surprised when there was a big fuss about Panama Papers and the Paradise Islands Papers, when actually there are more anonymous companies in the United States than in Panama on Paradise. I said, guys, what is this hypocrisy? What do you, you know, we have it here at home.
Africa,
we have it here at home. So this is one, and I was talking to retrieve money, illegitimate money from even Abacha, as far back as Abacha, which was hidden in really. And what I was told actually, that the reputation damage now to banks and is helping in really people behaving well. Although some countries don't behave well. I heard that there was $7 million Swiss government managed to retrieve from Mobutu's money, and has been begging DRC government to take the money. and refused to take it. And then another Mr. Mobutu, who was the son, who was deputy prime minister, then he said, okay, they don't want the money, give it to me. They gave it to him. And there is a similar situation in Nigeria, actually. Some money from Abacha, the government refused to take it back. And
No,
I told them, I'm going to speak about this publicly. They said, please do. And people asked the questions, what's going on here?
But
I'll
it
deal
is
with it.
one of the great things that we have, having this center. So when we now sit here, we'll discuss all issues about culture, about business,
Yes.
about policy, and that will help quite a lot. And
I'm told that it is 0 now, so I think we need to wrap up the discussion, unfortunately. We can spend all afternoon talking with two wonderful people here. Just to sum up, I think in general, we think the future in Africa really is young people, educated young people, not too many, hopefully. And, and investment is very essential for Africa, and Africa should be open for investment. We have reasonable rule of law. It's not perfect, but it's really reasonable, and we have our own experience to show that. We need courage in addressing our issues, whether family planning or corruption or whatever. We're not shying away from anything, and we hand over, probably as older people, a continent which is, maybe is reasonable health, but we hope you young people take it forward. And I hope this place play a role in really moving it. As Bono said, this is going to be, Bono is an Irish musician who is a supporter of this. He said, this is a wonderful, really street signpost to Africa, and across, between Harlem and Wall Street, which I think is a good statement. Thank you, Bill, and thank you.
Good job.
Thank you very much. Thank you.